If you've been struggling to grow as a coach, I guarantee you've been making one of these mistakes. I've coached over 15,000 coaches in the past decade, and these 9 mistakes seem to be the most common that limits their potential and slows down their growth. The first and the most common mistake is where coaches believe or somehow have developed that belief that they are not enough or they are not smart enough. Now, this belief is a very common belief. A lot of us have this belief, even if you're not a coach. This would be a belief that you will be working with your clients very often. And it stems from a pursuit of being greater than who you have currently pursued yourself to. And this belief comes from one of two reasons. One is because a parent figure, a father figure, somebody you respected, a teacher, might have told you once that you're not enough, or you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough. Or the second reason is because you're pursuing something that is out of your comfort zone. And because it is not familiar, it is out of your comfort zone, you feel like you're not good enough for this. You feel like you won't be able to get the result that you've been chasing to get. And that is why, because of the dissonance and the gap between you, who you are right now, identity that you want to embody, that gap creates the feeling of, I am not good enough, because you have just not experienced it yet. Think about it like this. So if you are someone right now who is in pursuit of a higher self, a highest self version of yourself, it requires you to build certain skills. And because it requires you to build certain skills, because you don't have these, you think, oh, I'm not good enough to have this because I lack these skills. What it may make you feel is that you don't have these skills. And because you don't have these skills, you, of course, are not good enough to be this person. But more often than not, this is a dissonance. This is a gap that you have artificially created. Usually, what we have found, and it might be true for you too, is you're actually more like hair. And the gap between who you are and who you want to be is actually much shorter than what you had initially imagined. And because this gap is much shorter, you can actually get to be good enough right now and smart enough right now. Now, you may find that even the most successful individuals seem to struggle with this gap because our self view is always limited to what we can see, what we can perceive. I remember this line from Maya Angelou. I might butcher it a little bit, but it was something to this tune. I've written 11 books, and I still sometimes wake up and wonder if they'll catch me, if they will find out that I am not that great a writer. Now, this is Maya Angelou, one of the greatest writers of her time. And if she could have self-doubt, so could you. So the challenge really is not that you feel you're not good enough or you feel you're not smart enough. It's the system or the process for you to get out of that state and keep moving forward. Because this belief, this self-doubt that you are currently harboring, is something that will take away from your coaching business. It is something that will not allow you to pursue what is truly your purpose, what is truly your vision of yourself, which is truly of what you're capable of. Which is why the self-doubt will often take away from your potential coaching career. So what can we do about it? Here are 3 simple things that you can do to have more belief, have more faith in yourself, and understand that your coaching ability currently is pretty consistent with what it needs to be for you to create the results for your clients that you've always been wanting to create. First tool is to remind yourself that coaching is not about you, that coaching is about creating a result for your client. See, when we take away this view of ourselves and we stop looking at ourselves and thinking so much more about, am I capable, am I capable, am I capable? And we take that view and we lay it upon our client and say, are they capable of creating change in their life? What you may find is much easier for you to accept the beauty in them than it has been to be able to believe that you are smart enough or good enough to be able to create that change in them. But isn't that what coaching is, anyways? Coaching is about trusting your client that they are fully capable as individuals to bring the transformation that they want in their life. And because that is what truly coaching is, it is much easier for you to then lean into the idea of saying, okay, so if I trust my client, can I be in this dance with them? Can I be the mirror? Can I be the person which brings perspective and hope to bring change because I trust that my client is smart enough for their own life? If I was to really ask you, who's the expert on your life? wouldn't you say that you are the only person that is an absolute expert of your own life? Wouldn't you say that you're the only one who fully can feel the feelings that you felt when you were doubted, questioned? You're the only one who can really feel the feelings of what happens when you are able to create impact in somebody's life? Why would you think otherwise for your clients? Your clients are pretty much the same. They are also the ones that are an absolute expert of their own lives, and they know exactly what they need to do once they have someone like you guiding them through the forest of confusion and distraction. That brings me to the first tool, which is to reflect on the idea that you are not the reason why they change. You're a facilitator of it. They are the reason they change. You don't have to be good enough. You don't have to be smart enough. They have to be good enough for themselves. They have to be smart enough for themselves, which they most definitely are. Second tool that I have for you is create a success folder. A success folder is a list of testimonials, list of stories, lists of comments from friends, from colleagues, from loved ones, sharing how you may have impacted their life, sharing how you may have been meaningful to their life. The reason why we keep the success folder is because when you have the success folder on your fingertips and you can quickly access it, you can remind yourself of the beauty that you have been to many people around in your life. And when you can remind yourself of that beauty that you have brought to their lives, it's much easier for you to actually operate from that place. Operate from that place of power, operate from that place of certainty, operate from that place of, I can help facilitate change. I literally have a daily practice where I have almost 3,000 plus testimonials on stories.mindvalley.com under my name. And I would make it a daily practice to read one of those stories every single day. It's not because I'm a narcissistic ass. It's because it gives me the empowerment that I need on a daily basis to show up as powerfully I possibly can when I'm interacting with one of my students, one of my watchers, one of my followers, one of my clients. Being empowered in that state, knowing that there is capability in you, that there is capacity in you, allows you to question your self doubt. And the moment you question your self doubt, you can lean into self belief. Which brings me to the third tool. And that is one of the tools that probably is the most effective of them all, is to coach more. See, the reason why you doubt yourself, the reason why you are questioning yourself, the reason why you think, am I smart enough? I'm not good enough, or am I enough? Is because you don't have any evidence to show you and demonstrate to you that you are smart enough, that you are good enough, that you are confident enough, that you are a great coach. And the reason why you don't have that evidence is because you haven't coached enough. If you would take a few hours every week and dedicate it to coaching, to being able to cause a real impact for your clients, you will find more and more evidence that you are indeed a really great coach. So instead of next time wondering if you're smart enough, if you're good enough, if you will be a successful coach, just coach. When you have hard evidence that proves you are good at something, you don't have to look for any other evidence because evidence is right in front of you. It's very hard to disbelieve something that is true and is in front of you. You can't question that I have a marker in my hand right now because I have a marker in my hand. You can see it. And because you can see it, it's much easier for you to believe it. It's much easier for you to believe when you actually coach people and they actually shift. And when they actually shift, you get more and more faith and confidence in yourself. And the person who believes in themselves doesn't doubt themselves. The second reason why coaches don't tend to create the progress that they could is because they believe that they don't have the right confidence, they don't have the right skills, or they don't have the right education. Now, this couldn't be further from the truth. One reason why this tends to happen is because a lot of us would quote unquote be perfectionists. We want to look good in the world outside. And because of that, we don't want to show up with anything less than perfect or what seems perfect to us. And because of this, we go, oh, I need to prepare more. I need to get ready a lot more before I can show up in the world because we are fearful of the judgment that the world is going to lay on us. This is why what you may find is that very often, even when you get a certificate, even when you have created some progress, even when you're getting some results with your private clients or really intimate setting with friends or relatives or whatever that you've been coaching, you would still kind of struggle to put that label and put your name out there in context of coaching or the ability of coaching. It's because you fear the judgment of the world outside. And so you want to perfect it. And because of that, you want to prepare a little bit more. Doing one more certification, getting one more course, getting a few more hours, or constantly doubting if you are actually meant for this. What I want to share with you today that I've found to be true for many wildly successful coaches is that they take some formal education, but there's a point in their career where they don't necessarily adhere or follow up on the education that they got. They learn it for the sake of learning when they were getting started, and then they learn so much by actually lived experience that they actually abandon the knowledge that they might have gotten from the certification because they just have a bigger knowing than what any education can provide to you. See, the confidence in your coaching doesn't come from education. It comes from doing. So you might wonder, hey, Ajit, I get that theoretically, but how is it that I overcome this idea that seems to be stopping me right now, which is either I don't have the confidence, I don't have the skills, or I don't have the education? So here are some simple tools that you can use. First tool that I want to invite you to is where you start before you're ready. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, and a lot of us are not able to do so, but let me explain what really happens. See, when you start, what will happen is you will take some kind of action, right? When you take some kind of action, you get some kind of feedback. And because you get some kind of feedback, you get to learn and grow, right? So feedback equals to learning. When you get learning from this action, you get more confident because now you have more understanding of the thing, not just theoretical, but practical. And because you have more confidence, you have more belief in yourself, right? And because you have more belief in yourself, you take more action, right? So you're in a cyclical world when it comes to taking action. And the secret to actually moving further in your coaching career is to just start taking action. This is not the most confident action. This is just informed action. You know you might fail. You know that this might not work out. But because you will take this action, you will get some feedback from the world outside. You will get some learning. Because of that, you will have more confidence in your abilities, which will make you more competent, which will also increase your belief in yourself. And that will get you to take a lot more action. So what you're really doing is you're putting yourself in the cycle of confidence and competence, and confidence and competence. There is no other way. There is no other way of actually starting this loop. You can't start from feedback because that can't happen without action. I can tell you you're confident, you're confident, you're confident, and you can keep telling yourself that story, but it will only be a very short lasting small burst of confidence that you will have for a really short period of time. So that doesn't last. You can't become more competent without having the confidence, without taking action. So how is it that you get started? The only way to get started is to take action. So today you got to decide what is the small action that I can take that will at least get me started. Because once I get started, I will find confidence, I will find belief in myself, and then I'll be able to create the results that I want to create in my life. And I can get past this whole idea of that I need more training, or I need more education, I need more skill, or I need more confidence. Which also brings me to notice that this action is not straight to confidence. It is contingent of you being able to collect feedback and make it a learning. See, this is the key difference between successful coaches and coaches that struggle. Most successful coaches would look at any feedback and see it as learning, never as criticism. You can look at feedback and think of it as criticism, and you can look at feedback and you can see it as learning. I invite you to see any feedback that comes, not only just now as a newer coach or a less confident coach, but even when you become wildly confident, even when you are creating many successful programs and you're continuing to create them. If you take feedback as learning, you will always grow further. You'll always gain more confidence. If you take it as criticism, it actually makes you less confident. So invite yourself in always seeing feedback as learning, not ever as criticism. Which brings me to the next point. And this is something for you to notice for yourself. You may think that coaching is like starting a new career, but it's not. Coaching is calling, and coaching is a calling for individuals that have certain experience in their life. See, you got here, you chose this career because you had a calling. Not everybody gets that calling. This calling comes to individuals who are having a certain kind of experience in their life, who have had certain kind of experience in their life. And because of that experience, they've learned something that is so unique, that is so powerful, that is in context of impacting other people. And because of that, they're called to be a coach, which effectively means that if you landed on this video and you're somebody who wants to be a coach or is a coach right now, you have a calling to impact other people's lives that effectively tells me that you already have a lot of experience. You've lived a life. You've had situations happen for you, through you, to you. And because of that, you had this calling, this urge of saying, I need to help other people. I need to pursue this career as a real career instead of just something that I do on the side. And that tells me that you're already ready. You don't need the education. You don't need one more program. What you need is action so you can validate the experiences you've already had in your life. So you can see the usefulness of the experiences that you've already had in life. The third reason why coaches tend to not start or start and stop is because they think they will start tomorrow. What's really happening when you say, okay, I get your point, I'm going to take action tomorrow, I'll start tomorrow, is that your fear of failure, your fear of rejection is currently disguising as procrastination. How many times have you said, I'll start tomorrow? For how many things have you said, I'll start tomorrow? And are these things often the things that scare you a little? Or scare you a lot, right? These are things that scare you a little or scare you a lot. Either it's a fear of failure, either it could be a fear of rejection, it could be a fear of what would people say, of judgment. It could be any fear, but it's a fear. And that's why what you're doing is you're putting a perfect date, a perfect week, a perfect time to start something. When you are really driven and passionate and you suspend fear, you don't wait to start. You start and then you keep going forward. So if you've been waiting, hey, I'll start after X, Y, or Z, it's probably because you're scared of something. The first step of getting over any fear is to know what your fear is to accept that fear, to say, okay, that's the fear that I'm dealing with right now. Because then you can actually work on that fear and get past it. Most of us don't even acknowledge the fear. We just say, oh, I procrastinate. Oh, I'll start tomorrow. I make perfect plans. I make great plans. I'm busy right now. So of course I can't start right now. Ajit, what are you talking about? I'm not talking about anything. I'm talking about the real stuff that really is stopping you. You know it in your heart of hearts. You know this. And so do I, because I worked with it a lot with myself and I worked with it a lot with my clients. And so I know any procrastination is fear disguised. So what's the fear? What are you so scared of? Who are you so scared of? Whose judgment are you so scared of? Whose perception you're so scared of? What failure are you so scared of? If you can answer that question truthfully and honestly for you, we can get to the next step. And the next step to overcome fear, to be able to stop saying, I'll start tomorrow, is to make a plan. See, a lot of times, because stuff is in our head, we tend to delay it because tomorrow never dies, right? Like that famous James Bond movie name, Tomorrow Never Dies. It just keeps coming, right? Tomorrow is always tomorrow. But a plan says, today I start this. Now I start this. Now I take this action. And then you have action for tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after, which effectively keeps you in motion every single day. And because you take action every single day, you will be over that fear of failure, ending your procrastination. Now that you know that to plan is a way to get over that procrastination, to don't have to say, I'll start tomorrow, but start today, here are a few things that you can do right now. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to make a 24-hour plan, okay? So make a 24-hour plan. A 24-hour plan means what am I going to do in the next 24 hours? And have a list of items that you're going to get done in the next 24 hours. The reason why the next 24-hour plan works is because it is immediate. It starts right away. You can start right after this video. You can say, here's my next 24 hours looking like. I'm going to make that post. I'm going to reach out to that client. I'm going to make that offer. I'm going to design my package. I'll define my pricing. And because you have set that to be true for you, it is most likely that you will actually take action towards it. And because you are going to take action towards it, you will find that you will actually make some progress. And when you make some progress, you'll find that procrastination is much more easier to get over because you're not trying to do everything that is in your plan straight away. You're just trying to do the next 24 hours. The next step to this is as you look at the top of the hour, let's say you're watching this video at 8 a.m., at 9 a.m. is, let's say, your plan starts. And because 9 a.m. your plan starts, if you are starting this plan and you're kind of starting to see yourself procrastinate, just say this to yourself: do it for 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute rule that I have. I just say, okay, I don't have to do the whole hour, whole 3 hours or something. I'm just going to get started. I'm going to just do it for 2 minutes. Because you do it for 2 minutes, because of how our brains are wired, what you may notice is because you started, you tend to want to finish, right? You're going to have an inherent need to finish what you started. That's just how we're wired as human beings. We're wired to finish things. And because of that, which is what Netflix plays a lot with you on that, is it introduces you to a starting of an episode. I don't know if you own Netflix. If you do, you might have noticed it. As you go to a show, the show already starts playing, or the trailer of the show starts playing. And the reason why that happens is because once you're hooked to the first few minutes of it, it is very likely that you'll continue watching it. And then what it does is, as the episode ends, before even the titles can roll, and it says, "Hey, do you want to continue watching?" And like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it just gives you 5 seconds, and the next episode starts already, right? That's because they know you want to finish it. They are tricking you in continuing to watch and spend more time on their platform, so it becomes more addictive. So why not use that in your favor? Netflix series may give you some temporary entertainment, but it's not really going to change your life. It's not going to give you everything that you want to have truly in your life, which is more joy, more success for your coaching career, more impact on humanity. It's not going to give you that. But doing the 2-minute rule or following that 2-minute rule for yourself might actually create progress for you. Go ahead and set yourself up for a 2-minute rule for every hour on the top of the hour as your plan unfolds. So you can keep doing those tasks and keep moving forward, because now you'll want to finish them. And then comes the final one, which is the scary one, which is in the community that you are. You may be in some kind of community for coaches. You might be a part of our certified coach community. You might be a part of one of our other groups or the Mindvalley membership. Either of those community, announce and create accountability that you're going to do the thing that you say you're going to do. So why does that work? There was a study that was done where it was found that about 70% of all human beings, 65 to 70% of all human beings, are more likely to finish the task if somebody else held them accountable for it. Yeah, only 30% of us are self-accountable enough that we will actually finish the task that we say we're going to do. So why not have that work for us? Why not announce it to a group of people, a group of friends, a group of confidants that you might have, a group of people that might be coaches like yourself, and tell them, hey, listen, I'm going to commit to do this for the next several months, several years, whatever that is, several weeks, and commit it to them so they can hold you accountable. If you don't have any of those people, hire a coach. A coach is a great way to start your own accountability by using a coach's help in holding you accountable. So go ahead, hire a coach. Go ahead, work with a community that you might have, but get some accountability in place, because if you get that accountability in place, you're more likely to finish the task that you have started. Another reason why coaches tend to not make the progress that they want or they could potentially make is because they go, if I am struggling with something, how can I help somebody else in the same thing? If I'm struggling with making money, how can I help somebody else make money? If I'm struggling with my relationship, how can I help somebody else in their relationship? Even if I'm struggling in my own business, how can I help with somebody else's business? And that would sound like a really true, honest perspective. You might feel it's totally legitimate perspective until you think about it this way. When Picasso started painting, did he wait for Mona Lisa to arrive, or did he paint until he got to Mona Lisa? You don't wait for one day to be perfect for you to get started. You get started, and maybe all of its paintings are not Mona Lisa, right? They're maybe not as successful, but that doesn't stop his work as an artist. And that's the same for coaching. Coaching is form of an art. You're working with human beings, and human beings are beautiful works of art. What you're really doing is you're seeing for where you are in the journey and where they are in the journey, and seeing what's the best art you can create with them through conversation. Also understand that sometimes this feeling gets developed because we think, oh, Ajit is such a great coach. He's got decent presence on camera. He's got all this following. He's already made the money. He's got all these success stories. But because of this comparison, often you discount that not all artists, not all coaches are meant for everyone. I'm not for everyone. I may be too hard to relate to for a huge part of community that maybe it's very easy to relate with you. And that will always be the case. Somebody's qualification doesn't disqualify you. Somebody's success doesn't make you unsuccessful. If you built a business that did $10 million, but you also found a business that did $100 million, does that mean you didn't have a good business? No. It just simply meant you had a $10 million business. It is still successful in its own right. It is still valuable in its own right. Like the person that has a $100 million business, and they shouldn't question if their friend did $1 billion, because they all bring unique value to unique industries. And even if it's the same industry, they bring unique value to same industry. And none of them can be discounted for the quality that they bring to the table. None of them can be discounted to the value that they bring to the table. So irrespective of what kind of coach you are, irrespective of how successful you've been in the field, you must consider that at all levels, there's a different field to be played, there's a different quality that is to be brought, there's different value that has to be brought in. And lastly, I really want you to think about this one. Would you rather hire a coach that is struggling with something and hence has perspective, or the coach that sounds perfect? Think about it like this. Why would I hire a relationship coach that has never struggled with a relationship? They don't know how I feel. They probably have no idea. They probably have no way of even having an idea because they've always been so perfect. But if it's a relationship coach that has struggled with 5, 10, 15, 20 relationships in their life, is a bigger possibility when I share something with them, they truly will understand what I'm saying because they've probably gone through it. So your struggles is actually a good sign. Your struggle is actually a great opportunity for the client to work with you because you actually will get them. So you struggling with something is not a disqualifier for you not to work on it. It is a qualifier for you to work on it. So how does one work with the idea of saying, I have not got success in this field. How do I help anybody else? Here's how to think about it. We think life is linear, right? So if I'm working on career, I work on career and I go from career A to career B. That's how we think life works, right? But that's not how life really works. If you really think about it, there's other elements in life. Let's say, for example, relationship, there is spirituality, there is health, etc. Right? Just for understanding, there's many dimensions in anybody's life. So if this is a person, they have all these different things that are affecting their field of influence and their ability to do anything at any given time, right? And they are correlated between each other because let's say if somebody's health suffers, do you think their career also takes a dip? If their relationship is not really good, do you think that it starts affecting their health a little bit, right? Because all of them are intertwined. There is no straight path. The path is often much more complicated. And because it's much more complicated, nobody who truly coaches on relationship only does relationship. Nobody who truly coaches on career only does career. Nobody who truly coaches on money coaches only on money. Those are the fields that they're coaching in, but effectively, they're actually coaching everything in their life. More often than not, I've found that when I am business coaching businesses, very often people report, hey, you changed my relationship with my wife. Hey, you changed my relationship with my husband. Hey, you changed my relationship with your kids. We don't even talk about those things. We were doing purely business coaching. It's because they all affect each other. So when you are maybe not so great on money, but because you have an understanding of health, you have an understanding of relationship, you might even have an understanding of career, you start to impact everything at the same time. So as a coach, your impact is not limited to the field that you're working in, it is cross. So because a person that is working on a problem is never really only working on the problem, they're actually a cross-function impact. A coach that is multifaceted also impacts them across different functions, even when their core focus is on one single facet, right? So that's the first understanding that you need to have is that your impact is not limited to the field that you are actually saying you're coaching, because it will impact other fields in their life and that will overall impact their life, right? Second thing that you need to notice is that you may find this, and as you coach more, you will definitely find this, is that we all have the same problems. We all have the same problems. It's just at different levels. So I have coached athletes, high performing athletes. I've coached celebrities. I've coached very wealthy people, including billionaires. They all have the same problems. Now, none of them have a different problem. They all doubt themselves. They all question their abilities. They all get distracted. They all seek clarity. They all seek a better, more meaningful relationship. They all feel they're not being seen. They're not being heard. It's the same problems. They're just at different levels. So even when you're struggling with a particular area of your life and you're thinking, hey, I can't help somebody else, know that the person that is attracted to you and wanting to work with you, struggling with the same problem, probably at a different level, probably at a different situation altogether. So you may be struggling to make your first 100,000, they're struggling to make their first million, but they're still struggling. And the challenges are the same. The mindsets are the same. The spirituality, the spiritual transformation is the same. It does not matter where you are and what you're struggling with till the time you stay curious, till the time you stay interested. They're not looking at your bank account and your CV to know if you can help. They are feeling into your energy to know if you are the right coach for them. So, how does one get started? Well, own your journey. Own your journey and share that with your client. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about the relationship failures. Don't worry so much about if you have figured out how to be a great parent or not. Just figure out that can you stay curious? Can you stay present? And can you share perspective based on what you do understand about life right now and share it with these clients so they can make progress in their life? A side note, very often the reason why we correlate that why I don't have the experience, how can I help them, is because we mistake coaching for mentorship. You're not a mentor. A mentor's job is to know exactly what's happening and give exact strategies that solves the problem. A coach's job, on the other hand, is to share perspective, is to know that the client has the ability. The client knows how to do something. What we are really doing as coaches is help them see what to do, when to do it, and if they're really in alignment with what they want to do. Which brings me to the next reason why you may not be making progress, and that is you have the thing called what will people think? And that is a very common thing, especially if you come from any of the Asian cultures. We tend to be growing up on this idea that it's important to know what's people's opinion of us and if they respect us and value us. And this fear of failure publicly, this fear of judgment publicly, is often a hindrance in our ability to be able to take action. And a lot of the times, this judgment is not even from somebody that's out there, it's from our parents, it's from our friends. And we question if they would judge us and if they would judge us harshly. And I want to bring a perspective to that before we get into the tools of it. And the perspective that I want to share with you is if somebody was to judge you harshly, is it because they judge themselves is it because they actually judge you? Every time I've had somebody judge me on my decisions in life or in my career, I very often found is because they wanted to do the same thing and they never did. And so they thought it's easier to just make fun of me or to be able to judge me, right? So is that true for you too? It's a curiosity. Is it true for you too that when somebody judges you, it is because they see you living the dream that they couldn't? And if that is true, doesn't this become our duty to fulfill the dream so you could show them that it's possible for them too? I have never, I've never had somebody who's an entrepreneur question if I should start a business. They might give me suggestions, but they will never stop me. They will never judge me for my failures. I have not had a successful coach judge me for my coaching. I have not had a um, successful person who's like fit and healthy ever judge me for struggling at the gym. I've not seen such people because when you're successful, you understand you go through the turbulence of being judged all the time and being judged, especially by people that love you because they feel like they don't get to have that dream that you are having now because they feel like you will go away when you will fulfill your dream because they do believe that you will have the dream be fulfilled. It's not conscious to them, it's unconscious to them, but it is something that hurts really hard when we are pursuing something. So next time you wonder, what if I'll be judged or what the judgment of other people, I want to invite you to a different question that will help you overcome this fear of judgment. And that is, instead of saying, oh, what if they judge me? Ask yourself, what if I could help? What if what I did helped someone? What if what I did supported somebody's journey in hard times? What if I chose me instead of choosing somebody else for today, for this moment? And when you hear the answer to these questions, I don't want you to just hear it. I want you to embody it. I want you to really own the answers. Is the answer, I rather help someone? Is the answer, I rather, if I had to judge someone or listen to anybody's judgment, I'd rather listen to my own? Is the answer, I rather not even care about judgment. I care about what my desires are. What is this answer? And what's the chase? What's the compass that this answer gives us? Because judgment from others is going to happen. It is not because you're wrong, it's because you are right. If you're doing something right, it is probably a little scary for a lot of people. And because it's a little scary for a lot of people, you will get a lot of judgment. You don't have to fear it. You have to feel it, acknowledge it, and move on because they got nothing on you. They got nothing to, the reason why they judge you is because they have nothing better to do. The people who are successful never judge. People who are successful in the field that you want to be successful in are always kind to people on that journey because they know it is a hard and long road and it will require all the support that the person can possibly get to be able to make through that really tough journey. Another question to ask is, if somebody is so judgmental of your experience, are they the right clients? Are they the right friends? Are they even the right family members? Because if they can't support you, do they really love you? Do they really love you? And if they do love you, can we ask for support instead of judgment? And will they give it to you? Sometimes we just got to ask. Maybe you ask for support. You ask, hey, listen, I don't want you to judge my experience. I want you to support my experience. And if they say, yes, I'll do that because I understand it, they are somebody who cares about you. They are somebody who loves you. They are somebody who's going to support you. And if they don't, then you should cut them off. I know it sounds really harsh, but I really do believe that when you are creating something different than what you have ever done, when you are pursuing a direction that has never been pursued before, you will get criticized, you will get judged. And that is a time for us to leave behind anybody that is not in congruence with what we want to create in our lives. And eventually, you will find that you will become successful. And they would say, oh, we always knew. Eventually, you'll become successful, and they'll say, yeah, tell me how you did it. And I can say that with confidence because that's the story of my life. And that's the story of anybody who's successful's life. There were points in our life where people laughed at us because what we were trying to do seemed so crazy, so insane, until one day we finally made it, we became successful at it, and now they can see it, they can understand it, and they even say, well, we always knew you were that brilliant and that smart. But that always happens once you've become successful, not when you're pursuing something that's difficult and different. Which brings me to the next reason why often coaches would quit on a success path that they're on and question it. Like question their abilities, question everything. And the way they question is by saying, but I am too old, or but I am too young, or I am too inexperienced. Now I want to tell you something. I have coached thousands of people at this point. Thousands. I'm 40, right? You can call it I'm too young or you can call it I'm too old. Doesn't matter. The point really is, in coaching thousands of people, very rarely have I been asked what's my age. Very rarely. What I've been asked is, can you actually help? Do you actually have tools, ideas, perspectives, coaching ability to be able to change my life? Most people are not ageist. They don't care how old you are or how young you are. But they do care is, can you help? If you can build trust with them, irrespective of your age, they will want to work with you. The reason why they don't work with you is not because you're too old or you're too young or too inexperienced, is because they, for now, don't believe that you can help. If you can help them believe that you can help, they will hire you. Coaching has nothing to do with experience or age. It has everything to do with your ability to create a transformation. So now we know that clients hire for results. They don't necessarily hire for your age. So how do we go about doing so? The first thing that you want to do is you want to see if who's the client that you're serving that is most likely to get the highest return of investment they make with you. So for example, let's say if you're more of a younger coach and somebody who's under 30, right? Instead of going out and saying, "Hey, let me coach you on how to work with the end of life kind of journey to make it more joyous if you know end of your life is coming," and so working on such a category, why not start with coaching individuals who are more in their 20s and 30s, maybe even 40s, trying to figure out how to have an alternative career, or trying to figure out how to love themselves more, or how to get more confident, how to get more skilled. That would sound more congruent to what you're already doing in your life, probably. It will sound more congruent to what is your specialization, most likely. It sounds more congruent and more easier for you to actually create a result for such individuals. If you think you're too old, what if you worked on more relationships and spirituality with your clients who were in the ages of 40, 50, 60, or 70? Now, if you were an older coach and you're like, oh, I'm in my 50s or my 60s, well, you could now work with clients that are more in that range of age. You don't have to necessarily adhere to too young or too old. You can be in the range that feels most congruent to you, and then you will have enough of a clientele to work with. There's enough clients. There's actually too few coaches in the world, if anything. And that means that if you are telling yourself you're too young or too old, it is very likely because you haven't yet established who you want to work with, what kind of results you want to drive, and hence you feel you're too young or you're too old or you're too inexperienced. The second thing that you can do is if you believe you're too old or you're too young, it's probably because you really are lacking the kind of result that you drive with your client. And because of that, you're justifying it by age. So irrespective of what age or experience you communicate to yourself, if you could somehow build the competence, you would stop doubting your age or your experience. So there are three ways that I can suggest right now. One is to partner. Partner with someone that can give you the model and work under them. So that way you can gain the skill that they might give you. It's like doing an apprenticeship, for example, where you are gaining the skills as you're going through the experience of working under someone as the assistant coach, so forth. Now, when you do that, what will happen is over time, you start to believe in yourself a lot more. So age doesn't really matter anymore because you will see this partner showing you, demonstrating to you that you can also create results for potential clients, allowing you to be able to move further in your career without doubting your abilities or definitely considering your age as a factor. Secondly, what you can do is you can actually go out in the world and offer free coaching, right? Free coaching. And because you're offering free coaching, you will get client testimonials of people who are getting results from your work, which increases your self view, increases the worth that you see in yourself. And because of that, now you don't believe age is necessarily important and being able to create transformation in somebody's life. And lastly, is do a certificate. Do some kind of certification that allows you to develop a unique capability or a unique way of working with clients, which then, as you do a good quality certification, such as the ones that we have here at Mindvalley Coach, what will also happen is they'll ask you to practice with a peer of individuals who are on the same journey as you. And because you're practicing, because you're learning, and because now you have a validated methodology, age no longer stays a number. It doesn't stay as something that you consider makes you or breaks you. So these are three ways that you can increase and enhance your understanding of self, your understanding of coaching, your capability of coaching. And because of that, you will now be able to suspend the idea that it's the age that is the reason why you're not having clients right now, you're not getting successful right now. Instead, you will understand that it's actually your capability. It's actually the ability to drive results. It's actually the clarity of thought that you bring to the table when you're working with your clients. Which brings me to the next reason why coaches often don't see progress, and that is because we think there are too many coaches in the world. Ajit, there are so many coaches in the world. I go to events everybody is a coach. I go to seminars, everybody's a coach. I go to my social media, everybody is a coach. And that tends to be the reason, because what we live in the world right now is of social contagion. If you notice, if you are interested in personal growth, you will find that pretty much the entire world around you riles up to show you more of that, especially in the world of social media, because the algorithms that are designed for all social media is to show you more of what you like. So if you like this video, you're watching this video, right? What you will find is you will see a lot more videos around coaching and personal development, right? Because guess what this video is about? Coaching and personal development. And so your algorithm is showing you more of what you like. The more you watch this video, the more such videos will show up in your scope. But that actually doesn't mean there's more videos or there are too many coaches in the world. That simply means that the algorithm wants to show you more of what you already like. It's the same with Instagram. Instagram is worse, is because it is so short that they are transient, and it makes believe, because it'll show you like 10 videos in a row around coaching and personal development. And you'll be like, oh my God, everybody's talking about personal development. That's not true. Everybody is a coach. That's not true either. If anything, there are too few coaches in the world, right? But now let's think about events. Again, the events that you are attracted to, like a Mindvalley event or something, is the event that is attractive to who? People in personal growth, people in coaching. And because it is attractive to such individuals, guess who shows up at these events? Coaches and people who are in personal development. So you get more and more evidence from every single platform you possibly can get that there are more coaches in the world and that everybody's a coach, which is a funny statement to say, but you find yourself saying so. You start believing so, but that's just not true. There's not enough coaches in the world. What you're seeing is something that you already like, and hence you believe there's more of it. But there is only, right now, I think people who have registered are only like 150,000, even without registration. Even if you assume like the top end of the spectrum, let's say there are a million coaches in the world. They're not, but let's say there were, right? There are a million coaches in the world. Do you know how many people are in the world? 8 billion, right? How many people are in America? 300 million. So if there are such a large population across the globe, and there's only a million coaches in the world, it means that still there are so many more clients to be had, even with a million coaches. There's nowhere close to a million active coaches in the world. There may be 200,000 active coaches in the world, active ones, right? And if only 200,000 coaches active in the world with 8 billion in population, or 300 million in population just in America, there is a huge potential and opportunity for coaches to shine, because the need is only more and more and more. So there's not enough coaches in the world. It's just the noise that you are in, the contagion you are in. And that's why you experience there are too many coaches in the world. So how is it that you as a coach differentiate yourself? Let's say even if you were like, hey, Ajit, there's 5 in my neighborhood, what do I do? Here's the way to go about creating an impact and a change in your own career by strategically moving in a particular direction for your coaching. So first thing that I want you to remember is differentiate and don't compete. Okay? The reason why I'm saying differentiate and don't compete is because most of the coaches, the classic mistake they make is they go, Ajit wears a hat, I should wear a hat, right? So copy. And when you copy, you end up in competition with that particular coach. Oh, they are making a 6-month package, I'm going to make a 6-month package. They're doing a 3-month package, I'm going to do a 3-month package. He wears a suit, I'm going to wear a suit. He wears a t-shirt, I'm going to wear a t-shirt, right? What you're doing is you're competing. There's no point competing. Differentiate. How is it that you're different than any other coach? And that often lies in the story of you becoming the coach. There's a reason why you became the coach. And that often is a differentiating factor. Then on top of it is your perception and the way of coaching, right? Because the way you understand coaching, the way you approach coaching is probably different and unique, because you are different and unique. And because of that, you can bring that forward as one of the reasons why you are the more unique coach in any category. The second thing to do is what I call micro niching. Micro niching. Now, niche is a popular word. I'm sure you've heard it before. You probably struggle to find it. And that's probably because you think niches is a big category. There's no big categories in niches. Niches are literally micro. Anything that is easy to find is not a micro niche. It's actually much difficult to find a micro niche, but it is very easy to own. What does that mean? So, for example, if I was looking for wellness resorts here in Dubai that only do Ayurvedic treatments, I don't know about this category, right? I'm just coming up with something to give an example. But if I was to look for that, I am certain that there's only a few. It's probably, maybe Dubai is too small, but let's say for all of UAE or all of Middle East or all of India or all of US, right? If I was to look for only Ayurvedic wellness resorts in United States, it's probably a handful, which means it's much easier to tap into that market versus saying, I'm going to work with all spas, right? Because that's probably in thousands, right? Because it's in thousands, it's much harder to own that market. But if I was only working with Ayurvedic resorts in the United States of America, it is significantly easier for me to own that marketplace. That's a micro niche. A micro niche is a small, tiny group of companies, tiny group of individuals, tiny group of people with particular kind of problems that you can effectively solve. Right. And if you can find those problems and if you can solve those problems, you can own that market. And because you own that market, you don't have to worry about having too many coaches because such markets don't have any coaches, most likely. And lastly, I want you to remember something. There is enough fitness trainers in the world. There's enough therapists in the world. Every day, there are more people becoming fitness trainers. There are more people becoming therapists, and they're all wildly successful. So there is no reason to believe that even if the market was that tight, it is not. Like there are way more fitness trainers in the world than there are coaches in the world. But even if the market was that tight, you could be successful. That effectively means that you can be successful in the market that's not even that tight right now, that doesn't even have enough coaches. So you are very much set up to be wildly successful. And definitely there is no evidence that proves that there's too many coaches in the marketplace. Which brings me to the next reason why coaches often tend to have a slower pace in creating success for themselves, and that is, I must quit my day job to be a successful coach. Now, there is some truth to it because there's only a finite number of hours that you have in a day. And if you quit your job and start your career, yes, it probably has a likelihood of moving faster. But there's a huge but in there. And the reason why this big but is in there is because, like any business, coaching takes time to succeed. Like any new business, right? You'll have to identify what products you're creating. You'll have to find the right customer. You have to serve the customer. You have to get feedback. You have to build more competence. You have to get more confidence. You have to make a name for yourself so the clients come on repeat. And all of that may take a minute. And so while it is very cool to kind of be like, I'm going to quit my job and become a full-time coach, it's only cool. It's not really the most advised way of starting a coaching career. The most advised way of starting a coaching career is to first get started in your coaching career while you have a job. And the reason why that's the most advisable way of doing it is because the moment you quit your career, your back is against the wall. And when your back is against the wall and you don't know where the next money is coming from, it is very likely that you will feel defeated and quit everything at once, right? Because there is no successful coaching businesses that ran out of money, right? And so we want to be making sure that our back doesn't get against the wall while we are discovering as to what is our coaching business even looking like. Once discovered, once it's off the ground, then absolutely quit the job. But when you're starting, when you're trying to hit your first 6 figures, you should keep your job. The most ideal way of switching any career is to make as much money that you were making in your previous career in the new career within the frame of next 18 months. So if you start your part-time coaching career and start making the same amount of money that you're making in your current job in the next 18 months, then would be a great time for you to quit your career. The reason why 18 months, because if it's not fast enough, there's a possibility that you will lose momentum. And it's also a possibility that you may have picked a wrong market, and that's why it's not picking up fast enough. So coaching, when you start coaching, should be a supplemental income, not your main income. Start coaching without quitting your job is actually more advised than quitting your job and starting your coaching. Now, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with quitting your job if that is truly very honest to you and you believe that's the only way you want to pursue this career. But there is no evidence that suggests that you have to quit your career to be a successful full-time coach. There's also a wrong belief to have if you believe that if you are doing part-time coaching, it's less serious. That's not true. You're building a career slowly and smartly Most successful entrepreneurs build their careers this way. They don't just abandon ship, they start building the new ship while the other ship is being maintained and kept. So when they are ready, they can make an easy jump from a thing that they were doing to a thing that they now want to do. So how do we go about doing it? Give yourself 3 constraints. Constraint 1 is time. Constraint 1 is time. What is the constraint? How much time do I have between now and X income that will allow me to be able to say I can switch my career? The second constraint is income. How much money do I need to make for me to safely assume that I can switch my career, right? This often is the same amount of money that you are currently making in your current job that allows you to be able to transition safely. The third constraint that you have is, do I clearly have a rollout plan for my future clients? So when you are, let's say if the time that you gave yourself is 18 months and the income you gave yourself was $100,000, you don't just quit because it's 18 months and you have X number of clients and you made the $100,000. You need to have a roll up, which means I must have safety and security for the next 6 months. So do I have a waiting list of clients? They don't have to enroll with you, but they need to be in some deck somewhere. So you know that these clients can be approached for the next set of income for at least the next 6 months. So if your average income that you need in a year is 100,000, which is, let's say, what you made here, you need to have clients that potentially can generate a $50,000 in the next 6 months. This is probably the best time to leave your old job and start your new coaching career. Which brings you to the ninth reason why coaches have a slower start or don't get the success that they could potentially get. And that is where we start comparing ourselves to other people. And I've been guilty of it, and I'm sure you have sometimes been guilty of that, is comparing yourself to somebody else because we feel like, oh, they are doing it this way, they are doing this, they are sending this email, they are enrolling like this, they are presenting themselves like this. And we tend to compare ourselves and say, how do I place myself against that? See, when a successful coach shares what their success patterns were, their intention is not to create comparison. The intention is to share learning. The reason why I have this video is not so you can compare yourself to me and think yourself as better or worse than me. The reason why I'm sharing this is because I want to somehow support you being able to have this journey, this blessing that I get to have, and be able to get there faster, more easier. And the learnings that I had by actually doing, you get to just have it by listening to these conversations like this one. And that's the reason why we share. But often, because of social media, we end up comparing because we have so much information that we end up comparing. Now, when you're comparing, see if this is true for you. But what I've found to be true is when you're comparing, often what we compare is not to the person, but the highlights of the person. What is the highlights of the person? The highlights of the person is the information that you do have. And there's a lot of information that you don't have on the person. Like you may see my highlight. This is my highlight. This is not my daily life. This is not when I'm having a bad moment, let's say with my kids, or I am having a bad moment with my team, or when I'm just not landing with my clients. You're not seeing any of that. What you're seeing is a highlight reel. Me presenting in front of the camera, seeming that I know exactly where I'm going because thanks to editing, that's how the video will actually look to you. But it takes a lot more time and a lot more effort and a lot more retakes for me to actually produce this video. But you never get to see that because you're seeing the highlights reel. So what you're comparing is you're comparing your everyday life to somebody's highlight reel. And when you do that, you are often creating a dissonance or a false reality of this person that you otherwise may when you meet them, you might find that they are not even halfway there. They are only showing you the highlight because that's what social media is for. It's like watching a movie by an actor. That doesn't mean the actor is really a superhero. It simply means that's the role they are playing in that time in front of the camera. So you think, and if they are good at showing you, you will think that they're superheroes, but they're not superheroes. They're actors presenting. In this scenario, we are humans doing life, sharing the highlights, the good moments, the times when we crushed it, where we truly understood something, So when you compare to our highlight reel or anybody's highlight reel, what you're not understanding is that's the highlight reel. It's not their everyday life. It's not their every moment. They have the weak moments. They have the not so profound moments just like you. They also sometimes fail just like you. So the question to ask is, why compare? Why do we compare? Because when we don't define our own standards, we ask somebody else to define it for ourselves. So because you have probably not defined your standards, when is it that you call yourself successful? When is it that you say, I have done the best I can with what I had? When is it that you get to celebrate you? What is it that you prioritize, creativity or comparison? How much input are you taking and how much creative output are you giving? Because you don't have your own standards, you pick somebody else's standards. When you don't have your own standards, you pick somebody else's standards. And because you're picking somebody else's standards, you will always be behind. In the race, if you've ever seen the 100-meter dash races, you'll notice that the person is never looking at the person ahead of them. They're always looking straight up. And the reason why that is the recommended way of running is because if you start looking at someone else, you're always going to be behind. Think about it. The moment you start looking at someone else, you have to be behind them to be able to look at them, to be able to really go and live your life fully. You must have your own orientation. And to have your own orientation is to be able to have your own standards. So don't compare. There's nothing to compare. You are running at your pace, and when somebody sees your highlight reel, they might be setting their own standards thinking that your life is perfect. Nobody's life is perfect. There is something or the other that we're all struggling with, that we're all working through, and it's perfectly okay. There is no reason to compare our lives to somebody else because we don't want their life. We want parts of their life, but that's not how life works. You cannot just have parts of somebody's life. You'll have to have all of it. So, my invitation for you is to set your standards and then chase these standards, the standards that you set for yourself. Not what the world sets, not what somebody else tells you, but know what you truly desire. What is the standard that you want to live for every single day? And then chase that standard. You will never have to compare. You will always see how far and how further you've gone in your own life, in context of your own life. One of the things that you may have noticed is all 9 of these mistakes are mental models. These are all things, the stories that you tell yourself. And because these are all stories that you tell yourself, there must be a way to counter all these stories. Is there a common theme that you could use to counter these stories? And there is one. And that counter to all the mental models that you have is to take action, is to move in some direction, even if it seems like the wrong or the bad direction. Movement in a direction allows you to be able to stop the chatter and look at the feedback. Most of the work that you are thinking that, oh, I can, if you understand intellectually everything that we talked about today, you've already done the mental work. Now it's about taking that mental work and embodying it and bringing it to practice in your life. It's not going to come to practice because you thought about it more. It'll come into practice because you did something about it once you have understood an intellectual way of looking at what you have looked at just right about now, right? So ask yourself, how can you take one small action? If you wonder, hey, Ajit, I don't know where to start, well, start with one client. If you're wondering, hey, Ajit, what if I fail? Then go fail. Because every time you fail, you learn. It has nothing to do with failure. It has everything to do with learning. If you're wondering, hey, what if I don't have enough experience? Well, go get some. Experience is not going to come to you. It's not going to be served on a platter. It's going to be done through action. So response to pretty much any mental model that you've told yourself that has held you back until now is to take action towards it. Take action even when it feels like you don't want to take action. Take action even when you feel and fear it so much as to what could happen next. Still take action. Take action even if it feels foolish to take action. Because when you take action, you get feedback. When you get feedback, you can actually create a little bit more competence, a little bit more confidence. And because you have a little bit more competence, a little bit more confidence, it will fuel further action. And soon you will notice that the mental model doesn't exist anymore because it has been replaced by a different mental model. There will be a mental model, it'll just be a different, more empowered one. So these were a lot. These were a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of mistakes that you could think about that you might be making. In this video, which mistake, which limiting belief really popped out for you, where you went, ah, that landed? Share with me in the comment section below. I'd love to see what had been stopping you and what now you'll be past because you'll be taking some action and creating some real results in the world outside.